I am going to give you 3 magical melody secrets today during Dr. Doug's Daily Tips for How to Write Great LDS Church Music. We are again looking at hymn 197 because it's birthday week for Johann Sebastian Bach, and this is our Bach hymn in the LDS hymnal. But today we're looking at melody writing. Now, this melody was actually not composed by Bach. If you look down here in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see the music, which they mean the tune. The tune was written by this Renaissance composer, Hans Leo Hassler, but Bach harmonized it. So he took this old Lutheran tune from the old original Lutheran hymn book, which Martin Luther created himself and actually wrote several of the early hymn tunes for the Lutherans, and then he added alto, tenor, and bass to it. Bach did this a lot with many Lutheran hymns throughout his life, and we have used this one in our hymnal because it's the most famous example of a Bach hymn. It's called the Passion Chorale. It's from his St. Matthew Passion, where he depicts the last few days of Jesus' life with stunning detail and emotional power. It's an incredible piece. Think of Handel's Messiah, but more focused directly on the atonement of the Savior in those last few days and hours of his life. So let's first, the first of the 3 melody secrets is in the half phrases of this tune. Okay, so the tune begins, we're in D major. That's our halfway point. O Savior, thou who wearest. That first half is a very gentle, we have a little leap up, and then step, 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 step. So it's a bit of a leap, and then kind of a little valley that comes down. Then a big leap up high to the high register. Now, that little tune, the second half of this tune has a more, a bigger sense of yearning because it's higher in the register, plus the big leap from the F sharp up to the C sharp. And then there's one element of rhythmic difference, and it's in this little dee-da-dum-tum. So there's the repetition that's causing it. In other words, the first half of this tune is built on a little bit of motion, a leap up, and then step, 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 step. The second part of the tune is built on a bigger leap and then some repetition. The D repeats and the C repeats with a little neighbor B in the middle, but then the B is repeated again. So the 2 halves of this opening phrase present different melodic kernels, and that's a powerful thing to do. On top of that, they feature different parts of the voice. That's a really powerful way to couple 2 halves of a phrase because it gives that phrase more emotional gems to work with. If the whole thing is in this opening flavor, it can still work, but it doesn't quite have as much potential for emotional feeling, okay, emotional power. So that tune repeats itself exactly in the second line. So we get it twice, and I think it's great that we get this one twice because of the duality happening in the tune. The first part and the second part, we want to hear it again. What's now magical is like, okay, well, now what? What do we do the third time? Well, you look at the third line, starts up high. So that first half is similar to the first half above where we have this stepping down, stepping up, but it's in reverse. This first one is the up high. So up here we have like A and B. But then it gets swapped. We have the B idea up high first, and then we have the A, more similar kind of idea at lower, at the second half. But there's one more element of this third line I want you to pay attention to. Look at these notes. Those notes were just played right here. That phrase ended da 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 dee da da da, and then it repeats itself, but starting on beat 4 instead of on beat 2. That is a brilliant little trick. It is such a brilliant trick. You should definitely do that kind of thing, where you take the little difference, the kernel that's slightly different in the second half of the tune, and you use it to start the next half of the tune. Beautiful. And the whole switcheroo of A and B. Then we end the tune back up high, and it basically does this same thing again, except instead of going down from D, C sharp, B to A, it takes the C, the high D, the D sharp, and then it turns it around and takes it to the high climax. So line 3 beginning with, and now line 4. So it's also like B-A again, B-A, but that little opening is a variation of line 3's opening. Isn't that fantastic? I just love that. Okay, and then the very end has that soft, simple stepping down with the similar leap of a fourth that the whole piece started with, but now the piece ends with fourth, third. Okay, that's really the first 2 secrets, is the A, B, and the switcheroo of B, A, and how the 2 halves work together. And the second trick was borrowing from the original tune and starting the second half with the same figure. Now, the third secret is that the other parts follow some of the things that the melody does. So the melody, that key feature in the melody of the little eighth notes, Bach uses that eighth note motion in other voices to make their parts feel melodic. Just look how many times he does this. Right here in the altos, here in the basses, here in the tenors, even longer in the basses there, a little bit in the altos. Same thing on the second line. Then in the third line, we get it here in the basses. Then we get my favorite spot in the whole hymn right there, where it really opens up the emotional territory because of the expanded internal motion, where you take, again, back to this little bit of motion up here, but you have alto and tenor do it in a stretched out slightly. Now it's quarter notes instead of eighths, with eighths following. And it's a powerful moment. Then he's not done. Continuing the motion, 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 making the bass extremely melodic. Then the alto gets melodic. The tenor and bass get melodic. The alto, the tenor, the bass. And it's just a wonderful way to get the rest of the hymn feeling like it's part of the drama. That it's not just a melody plus accompaniment. That all of the parts are working together to create the dramatic turf by taking an element from the tune, that little eighth note motion, and adding it into various places throughout alto, tenor, and bass. Okay, there's one more trick, a fourth trick, which I didn't say originally I was going to tell you, but I'll tell you anyway. For those of you who know what modes are, I'll give a quick explanation. There are different names for the major scale. So, for example, if you're in C major and you go from C to C, that's regular C major. It's also known as Ionian mode. Now, if you take the same C major, but you start on D, that's Dorian mode. If you start on E, that's called Phrygian mode. See, I'm playing the same key signature, no sharps, no flats, just white keys from E to E, but as a half step. Phrygian. This melody is a Phrygian melody. It's actually F sharp Phrygian, we start on F sharp and we end on F sharp, and everything is circling around F sharp. So the scale degrees go 1 4 3 2 1 7 1 5 6 6 5 4 5 4. Same thing, second line. Third line, 6 5 4 3 4 5 6 6 3 4 3 2 2 1. See how it ends on F sharp onto 1. 6 5 6 7 6 5 4 5 1 2 1 7 3 1. This is a Phrygian melody. So in D major, if you go from D to D with the two sharps, F sharp and C sharp, that's regular D major. If you play the same D major scale, but you start and end on F sharp, that's F sharp Phrygian. Now, you don't need to worry too much about the word Phrygian and what modes are so much, but to just recognize that this bit of melodic trickery Bach pulls adds to the emotional territory of this piece, because he takes F sharp Phrygian, which has a very minor, sad sound, and he superimposes it on the key of D major. D major is one of the brightest, happiest keys around. So by choosing a dark mode of F sharp Phrygian and putting it on a bright key of D major, we get both the pain and the anguish of the atonement and the beauty and the majesty of the atonement combined. Now, if that's not melodic magic, I don't know what is, but it's fantastic. Okay, so I gave you a bonus fourth melody gem in today's composer gem. Hope you enjoyed that. Try some of these motion tricks. Try the half and half, A and B kind of melody where one half starts low and the other half starts high, and then maybe they swap, and then they borrow a kernel from the opening for a third line. These are wonderful melodic techniques that can serve you in many different ways, whether you're writing a pop song, whether you're writing something in jazz, whether you're writing a primary song, whether you're writing a hymn arrangement, doesn't matter. These are strong melodic principles across the board of all types of music. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you'll get all the updates of when new YouTube videos appear here. And then head over to latterdaymusiversity.com if you'd like to grab some more free tips about how to write great LDS church music. That's latterdaymusiversity.com, where you can get my 10 commandments for writing warm, fuzzy church music. Come back again and we'll dig in some more to the great composer gems found in our hymnal. See you soon.